My name is Travis Franke. I'm the County Extension Agent for Agriculture and Natural Resources working for the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service here in Guadalupe County. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the water cycle and where our water actually goes when we do have a rainfall event. In order for us to completely understand the water cycle, we need to understand what scenarios can cause our particular water to end up where it does. So in order for us to do that today, we are going to be demonstrating this rainfall simulator. And what this rainfall simulator is going to tell us when we have a rainfall event on a different scenario that we have here, where the water actually goes. We're going to determine if we get groundwater or if we get runoff water. Now, what those things mean is just what they say. Groundwater is water that when it does rain, it infiltrates through the ground, eventually ends up in our aquifer, and then we can use that water for different things. A lot of times we use that water to drink. Most of the water that comes to your household is from the ground. Or we can get runoff water, and that's the same as it's self-explanatory there. It's water that hits a certain area and then runs off and goes somewhere else. So in order for us to do that, we're going to use this rainfall simulator, and we're going to demonstrate three different scenarios that we have here. This first scenario that we have is like a pasture or a yard. It would be grass covered on the soil and etc. The second scenario that we have is just a cactus and bare dirt. Okay, so there's nothing in there but that cactus, and we have bare soil on top. And the third scenario we have is an impervious surface. And a lot of folks ask, well, what is an impervious surface? It is simply something that water cannot penetrate. It would be like a rooftop or this asphalt that we're standing on here, etc. Something that water can't go into. So it's important that we know where our water goes when we do have this rainfall event, so that way we can try to capture as much groundwater as possible. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually fill these containers that we have up here on top with water, and then we're going to let it rain on here, and then we're going to see what kind of scenarios we have, and then we're going to talk about each one of those and why we got what we got, or what were the results that we had on each one of these scenarios. So I'm going to go back here and go ahead and make it rain, and then we're going to see what we get. And these containers up here on top have little holes in them. As I pour this water in, you can see that it is raining on the different scenarios that we have. And I'm going to pour quite a bit in here. That way we can get a good demonstration of what we actually get when we do these things. All right. We can talk and see what we got. Let me move that one back a little bit. Kind of missing the boat there. All right. As you can see here in this first scenario, we have grass cover on here. Okay. So, and you can see that the majority of that what we're getting is groundwater. Okay. So why is that? All right. Well, we have grass on top of here, and underneath that grass in the ground, there's a bunch of roots and different types of insects. You have gone through there, earthworms, etc., that create crevices and cracks in that soil. So what happens when it does rain is the grass captures the water on top of the soil, and it holds it there and allows it to soak into the ground. Okay? So therefore we're getting groundwater in this type of situation. And if you don't remember anything else about this situation that we have here today, I want you to remember that groundwater is good water. Okay? The more rain that we can capture and actually infiltrate it into the ground, the better off we're going to be. You can also see in this situation that we have very little runoff water. Okay? And that is a good thing. Now, when it does rain and we have a big rainfall event, even in situations like this, we're going to get some runoff water when that ground gets saturated and it can't take anymore. Okay, so this is a good scenario to have. What we try to tell our farmers and ranchers, those that have livestock out there in pastures and etc., is if we can take half the grass and leave half the grass, that way when we do get that rainfall event, we can capture all that water and it infiltrates into the ground, and eventually the plants use it, and eventually what's left will end up in our aquifers that we can use for drinking water. So remember, groundwater is good water. All right, what do we have here? Okay, we saw in this situation we have no grass cover and just the cactus growing in there. We got very little groundwater because of that. And why is that different? Simply because we don't have the grass on top to capture the water and hold it there and allow it to sink into the ground. Okay, So we saw that we got a lot of runoff water in this situation, okay? Also, with that water, what else did we get in there? We got a lot of dirt and a lot of different particles in there, all right? So when we move dirt from one place to the other by water, that is called erosion, okay? And erosion is not a good thing, okay? Because it takes a lot of time and a lot of organic matter to replace that topsoil that we lose in a rainfall event due to erosion, okay? So what could we do to fix this? All right, in a pasture type situation, a lot of times this is caused by having too many livestock out there or having what we call overgrazing, okay? So if we could limit the number of livestock that we have out there, we can cut down on the erosion, we can get some grass growing in these particular areas, and we wouldn't use that valuable topsoil, and we could actually get some infiltration in there and not allow that water to run off. Because as it rains on bare soil, we know that water comes down with force, okay? As that water hits that bare soil, it packs it, all right? And then as the sun comes and dries it up, we get a hard crust on top of there. And then when we get the next rainfall event, it's very hard for that water to penetrate. So you could dig in here probably and see that that water did not go very far down in that bare soil, okay? So if we can get some grass growing on there, get some things back to normal, and that way we can get some water infiltration into that ground, we'd be a lot better off in a situation like that. All right, I'm going to walk over here and we're going to talk about this impervious surface that we have here, okay? And like I said earlier, an impervious surface is a surface that water cannot penetrate, okay? So it is very understandable when we make it rain on an impervious surface that most all what we're going to get, unless we have some kind of cracks or etc., we're going to get majority runoff water. You can see I made it rain just a very little in this very little surface, and we see the amount of runoff water that we actually have. Now, is all runoff water bad? Probably not. Simply because sometimes we need some runoff water to keep our rivers and our streams growing, okay? And when we do get some runoff water, that water actually makes it all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico here in Texas, and then that allows the sun to hit it and evaporate it back into the clouds, so we start that rain cycle all over again. So a little runoff water is not bad. But if we get excessive rainfall and we have a lot of rooftops and we have a lot of runoff water, then that can cause floods, and floods, as you know, can be a bad thing. So a little runoff water is good, a lot of runoff water is not good, okay? So these are the three scenarios that we have in this rainfall simulator, and I hope that it helps you understand better some of the of where our rain actually goes when we do have a rainfall event. And I want you to strictly understand that groundwater is good water, and every bit of water that we can get in the ground is going to benefit us some way down the line. So in conclusion, if we can change this scenario to a scenario like we had in the first one, we're all going to be better off. Ranchers are going to be better off. They're going to have more forage for their livestock. They're going to be better stewards of the soil, and etc. So I hope this has helped you understand a little bit about where water goes when it does rain and why it's important that we try to correct some of these scenarios that we have. If you have any further questions or need further information, all you need to do is contact your local Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service county office, and the agent there will be more than happy to assist you in any way he can. Thank you very much.